if you guys don't watch any of my other vlogs, just watch this one because this is, I don't know if it's gonna get any more intense than this. So this past weekend, my friend Angelica and I, we had an extra day off of school in Sevilla. It's Dia de la Hispanidad. So we had Monday off. So we're like, okay, let's go to Mallorca. Mallorca is an island right off the coast of Spain near Ibiza and Menorca. It's like in between Italy and Spain. We arrived in Palma, the capital, and so we explored the city for a little bit. We saw like the huge Cathedral Lesau, and we saw like this little castle fort area and some more beautiful churches, and got like the best ice cream of my life. And then we took a bus down to the south coast where we were to spend 2 days on the beaches. So we were in the south coast in the town of Cala de Or, took the bus there, went to bed, and got up early to go beach hopping the next morning because there's like beaches on beaches on beaches. They're beautiful. They're the clearest blue I'd ever seen. Fish, coral, everything. I would call Mallorca after this experience like Spain, Hawaii. That's how I can compare it. So yeah, we were at the beach all of Friday, and we split up, and somehow I ended up on the opposite side of the little map they gave me at the hostel. So I was like, okay, how the heck do I get back? And suddenly there's Angelica with me. So we found each other somehow. She was on her run and I was lost on the other end of the beach town, but we found each other. And then we went out. We found a vegan place to eat, which was so legit. And then we went and we're like strolling past a bunch of cafes and bars, playing music, just like dancing in the streets. It was the best. And then we went to do karaoke, which was so fun. Then the next day, we went to the beach and we did take the boat tour. And the boat tour went to an old like sailing harbor town. It was so quaint. It had little like paths going up to roofs, and I was climbing on roofs, and like it was the absolute best town for photography that I've ever seen. Boats lined up everywhere, shades and shutters of different colors and cobblestone, everything. And then we swam in a national park off the boat. It had like slides and everything. And then we jumped off too. It was like a 2-story boat, and you could just like plummet into the blue waters. It was so nice. Such a nice end to the day. And then we go to the north, right? We had reservations at a refuge, they're called, because hikers hike the Sierra de Tramontana mountain range across the north coast. And so there's little refuges in each town to hike from town to town. And so we take the bus to Palma. Everything's fine. From Palma to the north, Dea, the town of Dea, there is no bus. I was sending couch surfing requests, like looking a blah blah car, the whole shebang. Finally, we're like, okay, you know what? We should get there tonight. We don't want to spend money on another hostel when we already booked one in the north. So we get a taxi, right? We get a taxi to Dea, and we're like, what a relief. Like, that was the right decision. So we're there, nighttime, the next day. We're fresh and ready to go hiking Sunday morning. So we get up, Dea. We start in Dea, and we hike through some towns. We go up to the north to a lighthouse, and then we go down along the coast, Port de Sóller, and then the town of Sóller. And this was like long. This was like a lot of hiking. We started at around 10 a.m. and we finished much later in the day. So that part, okay. We lost track of time, and it was 6 p.m. and all of our hiking had gone fine so far. All of our trails from town to town, like through the mountains, it was great, beautiful. And then we realized it's 6 o'clock. We just had like the best pastry of our lives, and it's 6 o'clock, and we're like, oh my God, we need to get back to our town. Like, we've been hiking all day and we're like really far. So we asked people for directions, right? Spaniards have a very indirect communication style. They're very ambiguous. They kind of like beat around the bush. I've never desired American communication more in my life. We're like, Dea, where's the trail to Dea? And then they're asking us like, how are you going to get there? They're like, by coche, by autobús, tren, and we're like, no, 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 andando, like we need to walk there. And they're like, no, you can't do that. Like it's not possible. Like you cannot do that. So they wouldn't give us any directions. Speed walk, power walk on the main highway because we're like, either there's going to be a trail or a bus stop. We're going to see one of the two off the main highway. And we see the trail first. It's 6:40 and we see the trail. So we're like, okay, sun's going to set in an hour. This trail marker says that it takes 2.5 hours. So we start this trail and we're walking and we come to a gate, right? And the gate looks like it's closed, looks like it's blocked off and the trail ends. And we see this man walking towards us and he is on something. Curtis, if you are watching this video, never have I ever wished that I had a knife on me more than when I did this trail. I wish we both remembered for you to give me one of your knives before I came here, because it would have been awesome in this situation. So this man's walking toward us and he's like stumbling around, he's mumbling words. So we like push the gate open and just book it past him. I'm just like, just go, just run. Luckily for us, the trail's all uphill from there, so we run. I don't even know for how long. I couldn't tell you. We're just running and running. I'd never been more hot or tired or sweaty in my life. And we're like, okay, we need to like catch our breath. We walk, we see like pastures and olive trees and lambs, and the sun is setting so nicely behind this one tree in the distance. So then we're more casual. We're still speed walking, but we're like more casual. And the sun starts to set pretty fast, and then we get to this an area that we recognize that it was a house, right? And there was one light open in the window, and there were cats everywhere, cats and cats and cats, and one dog. Then we walk past that house, and Angelica sees someone in the distance. I didn't see him that well, but I saw him with a flashlight, and then I saw him turn his flashlight off and turn it back on and turn it off and like stumble around and then kind of go off on the side. And Angelica's like, I think he just hid from us. Like, I think he hid so we couldn't see him. So she freaks out. And I'm very, like, receptive to other people's emotions. I start freaking out, too, because she saw it and I didn't really see it. And she's, like, freaking out. So we go into the backyard of this house with a million cats. We jump the fence. We go into their backyard. We knock on their windows, on their doors. No one answers. There's cats and cats, but no one is home. We actually went a half hour faster than the trail because when we saw it was a marker that said, like, you have 1 hour and 30 minutes left out of 2.5 hours. And we'd only been on the trail for a half hour. So we made a half hour of good time. We were looking for rocks to pick up. Couldn't find any because everything's cobblestone and, pretty firmly set in there. And then we see a pile of logs. I was like, okay, just pick up the log. Like, let's just get us a big stick with us, and we have to go. Like, it's nightfall. We can't stay here any longer because bad things will probably happen if we keep waiting on this trail. I was like, okay, now just run. You just go. And oh my God, I think I need to be recruited for, like, Olympics 2018 or whatever it is now, because I don't think I've ever ran that fast in my entire life. And then we're running downhill, uphill, whatever, rocks, bridges, and then I trip and I fall and like my ankle twists and I'm like, no, this is the end for me. At one point we get into this really wide area and then we see lightning and then it starts thundering and we're like, great, awesome. And then we walk way off the path. Somehow we end up in this pasture because we walk into it and all we hear is sheep bleating and their bells ringing and they're running everywhere and then we're running everywhere and it's just like chaos. And then finally we get out of the pasture, we get back on the path and we see 30 minutes left of the trail. It's pitch black at this point. And then we start seeing the town in the distance. We see Dea in the distance. Such a weird trail at the end, not clearly marked at all. And we're like, oh my God, how much do we have left? We're like climbing over these bridges and we're like, we didn't see this before. And then finally, we get on a road. We're on a road and we make a little turn and then there is our refuge in the distance. With all our wandering around and waiting around for that creepy guy to leave, we still made it back a half hour earlier than the suggested trail time would take. So you can imagine we were running up through this mountain range, and I definitely learned a lot of good lessons on this trip, and I am very glad to be doing a vlog right now after that experience. If I was in Sevilla, I could have been like out at the discoteca. Like, shout out to Rodolfo and Claudio. I hope you guys like danced like while I was lost in the forest, because I would much rather would have been Spanish dancing. But I guess it is what it is now, and I'm good. So everything's good. And I hope my next vlog is not as intense as this one, because that would be nice.